Do you ever feel like you're drowning in information but starving for wisdom? That you're living on autopilot, following a script you never agreed to write? We are constantly told what to think, by the news, by social media, by our friends, by our own unexamined habits. We get into arguments that go nowhere, we accept beliefs without knowing why, and we feel a deep sense of confusion about the big questions. Am I doing this right? What is the right way to live? This isn't just a modern problem. This is a human problem. And for thousands of years, there has been a powerful antidote. The problem is passive acceptance. The solution is active thinking. The solution is to learn how to think like a philosopher. Thinking like a philosopher isn't about wearing a toga or memorizing dead Greeks. It's not about having all the answers. It's about learning to ask the right questions. It's a toolkit for clarity. It's a method for dismantling bad arguments, finding the foundations of your own beliefs, and navigating the world with intention. In this video, I'm not going to give you a boring history lesson. I'm going to give you 7 practical, actionable points from the Philosopher's Toolkit that you can start using today to build a more examined and intentional life. Over the next 15 minutes, we are going to cover cultivating radical curiosity, the art of questioning the obvious, defining your terms, why most arguments are a waste of time, uncovering hidden assumptions, how to find the beliefs beneath your beliefs, mastering logical reasoning, the basic structure of a sound mind, arguing against yourself, the power of the steel man, using thought experiments, how what if can change your reality, and living the examined life, turning thought into action. By the end of this video, you'll have a new framework for thinking, a way to see the world and yourself with incredible new clarity. Let's begin. Point 1. Cultivate radical curiosity, the art of questioning the obvious. The foundation of all philosophy starts with 2 words, why and is that true? Most of us walk around accepting the world as it's presented. We accept our cultural traditions, our family's political views, the 9-to-5 workday, or the definition of success without ever stopping to question them. A philosopher does the opposite. A philosopher looks at the most obvious things and asks, why is it this way? The ancient philosopher Socrates was famous for this. He would walk around Athens asking powerful people simple questions like, what is justice? Or what is courage? He quickly discovered that the people who claimed to be experts didn't actually know what they were talking about. This is the starting point. You must become a child again and ask why about everything. Why do I believe what I believe about money? Why do we have the social rules we do? Why is this particular goal so important to me? Here's your action. For the next 24 hours, take one obvious belief you hold, just one. For example, I need to be successful. Now question it. Ask, what does successful actually mean to me? Who gave me this definition? What if this definition is wrong? What happens if I don't pursue it? Don't look for an answer. Just sit with the questions. This is the first step, trading certainty for curiosity. Point 2. Define your terms. Have you ever been in an argument that just goes in circles? You're both getting angry, you're not making progress, and it feels like you're not even speaking the same language? Chances are you're not. The philosopher Voltaire once said, if you wish to converse with me, define your terms. Philosophers know that the most pointless arguments happen when 2 people use the same word to mean different things. Think about it. People will fight for hours over words like freedom, justice, love, success, God. If one person hears freedom and thinks the right to be left alone, and the other person hears freedom and thinks having the basic resources to achieve your potential, are they ever going to agree? No, they aren't even having the same conversation. Thinking like a philosopher means you stop an argument before it starts and you get precise. Here's your action. The next time you're in a disagreement or even just a deep conversation, hit the pause button. Ask this simple question. When you use that word, e.g., respect, what does it mean to you specifically? You'll be stunned at how many conflicts dissolve into simple misunderstandings. Don't assume. Define. Point 3. Uncover hidden assumptions. This one is a little deeper. Every argument, every belief, and every opinion you have is built on a foundation of other beliefs that you're not even aware of. These are your hidden assumptions. A philosopher is like a detective, digging for that hidden foundation. Let me give you a modern example. You hear someone say, that person just wasted their time getting an art history degree. They should have studied engineering to get a good job. That sounds like a practical, common sense statement, right? But a philosopher asks, what are the hidden assumptions? Assumption 1. The primary purpose of a college education is to get a high-paying job. Assumption 2. A good job is defined by its salary, not by personal fulfillment, social contribution, or intellectual passion. Assumption 3. The value of knowledge, like art history, is only measured by its direct economic output. See? Once you expose those assumptions, you can actually have a real conversation. You can ask, is the only point of education to get a job? Is a high salary the only definition of a good life? Here's your action. Listen to a strong opinion, either from someone else or from your own mind. Ask, what must I already believe for this statement to be true? Find the iceberg under the tip. You'll start to see the hidden architecture of all beliefs. Point 4. Master logical reasoning. Avoid fallacies. If curiosity is the spirit of philosophy, logic is the engine. A philosopher builds arguments like a carpenter builds a house, step by step, making sure each piece is sound and supports the next. A logical fallacy is just a term for a bad piece of reasoning, a mistake in the structure. We are drowning in logical fallacies every day, especially online. For example, the ad hominem fallacy. This is when you attack the person instead of their argument. You can't trust his opinion on the economy. He's divorced. What? His marital status has zero to do with the validity of his economic data. Or the straw man fallacy. This is when you misrepresent someone's argument to make it weaker and easier to attack. Person A says, I think we should spend less on the military and more on education. Person B says, so you hate our country and want to leave us defenseless? This is not an honest debate. Here's your action. You don't need a PhD in logic. Just learn one new logical fallacy this week. Start with ad hominem, straw man, or false dichotomy. Your job is to become a detector. Notice them in ads, in political speeches, and, this is the hard part, in your own thinking. This is like a superpower. It makes you almost immune to manipulation. Point 5. Argue against yourself. The steel ran. This might be the most difficult and most valuable tool of all. We just talked about the straw man, attacking a weak version of your opponent's argument. The steel man is the opposite. A philosopher actively seeks out the strongest, most intelligent, most compelling version of the argument they disagree with. Why? Because if you can't defeat the best version of the other side, you haven't really won the argument. You've just beaten a caricature. This isn't about being nice. It's about finding the truth. The truth doesn't care about your ego. If you are passionately for or against a certain political policy, your job as a philosopher is to find the smartest person who holds the opposite view and genuinely try to understand why they believe it. You have to be able to articulate their argument so well that they would say, yes, that's exactly right. Only then are you qualified to build your counterargument. Host, Here's your action. Take a belief you hold very strongly. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Your only goal is to write down the best possible argument against your own position. Don't write a rebuttal. Just build the case for the other side. This is the ultimate intellectual workout. It builds empathy and makes your own beliefs infinitely stronger if they can survive this test.
Point 6. Use thought experiments. What if you could test an idea without risking anything in the real world? That's a thought experiment. It's a laboratory for your mind. Philosophers use these all the time to push ideas to their logical limits. You've probably heard of the trolley problem. A trolley is heading for 5 people. You can pull a lever to switch it to another track where it will only hit 1 person. Do you pull the lever? Most people say yes. But then the problem changes. What if you're on a bridge and the only way to stop the trolley is to push a very large person off the bridge into its path? The math is the same. Save 5, sacrifice 1. But suddenly it feels different. Why? The trolley problem isn't about trolleys. It's a tool to help us discover our hidden intuitions about morality. It helps us see the conflict between different ethical systems. You can do this with your own life. What if I had only 1 year left to live? How would my priorities change? What if I had $100 million? Would I still be doing this job? What if I had no fear of failure? What would I try? Here's your action. Take a problem you're facing. Create a what-if scenario. Change one variable. What if I wasn't worried about what my parents think? What if I approached this conflict assuming the other person has good intentions? Use these hypotheticals to break free from your rigid thinking and discover new solutions. Point 7. Live the examined life. Finally, and most importantly, philosophy is not a parlor game. It's not just about thinking, it's about living. All these tools, the curiosity, the logic, the thought experiments, are useless if they stay in your head. The goal is to connect your thoughts to your actions. The Stoic philosophers were masters of this. They didn't just talk about what was in their control, they practiced it every single day. Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." What does that mean? It means a life lived on autopilot, a life where you never question your habits, your values, or your purpose is not a life fully lived. Thinking like a philosopher means creating a space between event and response. When someone insults you, you pause, you examine, you choose your response. When you have a big decision, you pause, you define your terms, you check your assumptions, you choose your path. Here's your action. This is the simplest and hardest one. At the end of your day, take just 2 minutes. Ask yourself 2 questions. When today was I just on autopilot? When today was I intentional? When did I live according to my values? That's it. That's the practice. You are no longer just a passive character in your own life. You are becoming the author. So, that's the toolkit. Cultivate radical curiosity. Define your terms. Uncover hidden assumptions. Master logical reasoning. Argue against yourself. Use thought experiments and live the examined life. Thinking like a philosopher won't solve all your problems. It won't make you rich or famous, but it will give you something far more valuable: clarity. It's the tool that frees you from autopilot. It's the shield that protects you from manipulation. And it's the compass that helps you build a life that is truly, authentically yours. You don't have to do all 7 things at once. Pick one. Start small. The world doesn't need more people who are certain. It needs more people who are curious and thoughtful. It needs more philosophers. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I have a question for you. Which of these 7 points do you find the most difficult to practice? Let's talk about it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you found value in this, please consider liking and subscribing. We're building a community here dedicated to mapping our minds. Think deliberately, live intentionally. I'll see you in the next one.